What do you mean I can't protect my coaching method name, Valerie? This is a common refrain of coaches who work with me in their businesses on their legal foundation. Here's the thing though, in this video, I'm going to show you while we can't protect your coaching method directly, what we can protect it that's just as valuable. Before we get started, make sure you like and subscribe because we are in the middle of a series all about the importance of courses for coaches and the little known benefits that help you get to the alternative ethical way to scale without watering down your results and also keeping your impact very high as well as your income. And in doing that, we're also talking about the valuable assets in your business that you can create when you are creating a coaching method, a resulting course, maybe a certification and licensing program, and when you're selling under an amazing name that you want your customers to attach to, as well as how to protect your content, which is what we're going to talk about in the next video. So be sure not to miss that. All right, you've probably heard of the 12 steps, profit first, maybe even the model from the Life Coach School. And as you can see, the amazing thing about these names is that they are memorable. They relate directly to the work that that particular coach does, even if you don't remember or know who that coach is. And they have this standalone value that customers are out in the marketplace seeking on its own. These are the names of the methods, but the methods are really where the rubber hits the road and where you can confidently get clients from point A to point B pretty reliably every single time. That is a massive value. And for most coaches, the development of that method is pretty painstaking. They put a lot of effort into the trial and error and sitting in the seat across from clients, guiding them through this process, refining it, finding the ways that they typically run into hurdles and helping them overcome it so that they can get these desirable transformational results that ultimately sell themselves in the marketplace. So it is completely understandable that coaches get so disappointed when I tell them, hey, we cannot protect that. I know it's true. But the good news is we can do a lot of protecting around it that approximates protecting your method and that creates many valuable business assets that you can sell or monetize in other ways. I want to let you know I work on certification and licensing, legal, and setup with my genius mentor and business partner, Amanda Goldman Petrie. So in the link below, look for your certifications made simple invitation. Even for newer coaches, this is something you're going to want to see now rather than when you're up to your eyeballs in massive group programs and masterminds and you feel like you're getting pulled 50 different ways. This is the way to start developing your method early so that you can avoid those business frustrations and disasters and have to steer the ship in some other direction. So I encourage you, it's only $10 to dip your toe in the water and understand from day one how this beautiful business model can help you. But to have that, we have to come back to the present day, which is talking about your coaching method. So I want to be clear first that a method is more than just a series of steps. You may have done the exercise that I did in elementary school where we stand up at the front of the class and we have to walk everybody through creating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And of course, as elementary school students, we forget the steps, we jump ahead, we don't really get as granular as we need to. So although what a method is and how to make it proprietary and legally defensible while also marketable and transformational is the topic of a completely different YouTube channel coming soon, what I do want you to know about it in short is that you will know a method when you see one because the outcome is greater than the sum of its steps. This is not just, how to get your YouTube video up and optimized for SEO. This is something greater that typically has an internal and an external component of transformation when you're talking about coaching and thought leadership. So with that in mind, the things that we are focused on when it comes to protecting this is avoiding later users from putting all or part of this material out in the world without your permission, in whole or in parts, for free or for paid. Now, if you've been in the coaching industry for a while, you have probably taken a program that someone who really is not a super in-depth expert is teaching, and what they're doing is they're drawing on the teachings of other programs that they have been in. And for any of you who have a deep connection to the work that you've done, you know that a lot of times what a client is seeing in your program is really just the tip of the iceberg. The reasoning, the things that are in there, the things that are not in there, the steps, the process, all of that is a much bigger exercise than necessarily what your client is seeing. And so taking that little piece and then going out in the world and making promises to others is not only not great for the industry in general or those people's results, but it really does a disservice to the depth of the work that you have created. So that's what we're talking about with protection, is stopping that from happening. As I always mention, when it comes to this type of infringement, a lot of it is innocent. It's rampant in the industry because people think that when they pay you for one reason, they're paying you to use the content for any particular reason at all. That is a highly damaging but incorrect viewpoint. Okay, it's totally wrong. The creator has all of the rights except for the ones that they have explicitly given you. And that is why it's so important in your programs to have a friendly opening video that addresses this head on. You bought this for your personal use. You can apply it in your own business, but if you're going to teach it, share it in whole or part, whether for free or paid, with anybody else, you've got to have my explicit permission to do that. Reach out. I have options. I've got affiliate programs. I've got licensing programs. I've got certification programs. And this will be a great way for you to assess the level of interest in this happening in your business. As Amanda and I always talk about, this often happens and coaches don't have a way to monetize this type of infringement. So just food for thought. But the things that the customers are really going to attach to are going to be your program names, your method names, as well as the way you lay out the steps. To a lesser extent, they may also attach to other terminology, worksheets, and written materials that you have. The name and the overarching content are what are going to be really important. So we've talked about the fact that we're going to head off innocent infringement by having that conversation with the people who are going to see the heart and soul of our work inside of those programs. But the next piece is that we want to protect the names. Now, in the past video, we did talk about what it means for a name to be available and some free and paid ways to kind of take ownership of that. But there's a key piece that I need to layer on top of that, specifically when it comes to methodologies and protecting the names of methods. Just like we can't protect the method itself, we also can't protect the name if it's solely used as a method. Because you see, the trademark law and the trademark office, which is where we get protection for names for later users, against later users, I should say, is concerned with goods and services. So unless the method is packaged as a program, you're not going to be able to get the name protection. So it's really important that you understand now that you don't want your method to include the word method in the name. The trademark office is going to see that, and out the window, your application and your filing fee is going to go. So going back to the examples that I gave at the beginning, like Profit First and the 12 steps and the model, these are names that don't include method or methodology or process in them. And that is by design and for good reason. So that is a huge thing that we want to protect, because customers attached to that name, they're out in the marketplace seeing it, and you develop a lot of goodwill when clients have gotten great results going through your methodology. So be sure that you're strategic when you're naming it, and that when you talk about it online, especially at first, that you're doing so in a way that it is clear that it is a product, something that's available for sale. That's how you get the name protection, which is a huge component of what we do instead of protecting your method. Now, the other piece of this is that we also want to protect your content, because, there's a huge component of infringement that is innocent, but there is also a pretty big component of it that's kind of lazy. So we never want to make our content easy for other people to rip off, because that makes it that much easier to go out in the marketplace and compete with us. And when it comes to your content, that's what the copyright law is concerned with. People coming along and taking small or large pieces of the written or other expression of your ideas, repackaging them, polishing them, doing little changes, but ultimately putting it back out into the marketplace to compete directly with you. That is kind of the very oversimplified explanation of what copyright law is designed to protect. So when it comes to your content, practically speaking, you just want to make sure that it's hard to rip it off. We want watermarks on your pages. We want to disable right clicking. We want to have public notices on the bottom of your papers to show that this should not be distributed. Again, we want to make it clear in our welcome videos that this is not for other types of use and that other types of use need to be paid for. But ultimately, we can also submit for registration of your copyright. The big difference between names and content are two. Number one is, even if I don't have a registered trademark for my name, I can still stop a later user. It's hard, but I can still do it. But if I want to stop someone who's ripped off my content, I absolutely cannot do it unless I have the registration. So public notices are great to let people know that you consider this content protected and to remind them that they can't use it in certain ways. But if you want to stop them, you're going to have to get the registration to be able to go to court. Now, the second big difference between protecting names and protecting content is that the trademark law says if this name is registered, anyone else who comes later is assumed to have looked in the trademark database, seen it, used it anyways, and therefore they're intentionally infringing. Whoa. However, copyright law, the law of our content expressing our ideas, says the opposite. You and I could be 1,000, 5,000 miles away from each other, living completely different lives, and we could write the identical haiku poem or the identical coaching program, and we will not have necessarily infringed on each other. So it's doubly important with your content that you also make it super clear whether and when and who logged in to look at it. That's going to be a big deal because if the person never logged in, let's say, how are we going to show that this wasn't just coincidence, but in fact was infringement? So as you can see, when it comes to protecting your method, we're actually concerned with a series of practical and formal legal steps that make it hard to rip you off for the components that customers really attach value to and that are the heart and soul of your method, as well as making sure that you're having the conversation to just tell people, don't do this. There's a lot of people in the industry who are doing it anyways, but when you're here on my turf, I'm telling you, don't do it. All right, what questions do you have about protecting your method? Let me know. You can put a comment below. Visit me on social media, on Instagram at Good Authority for Coaches, and we can have a further conversation about it. But really, whether you are super established or brand new in the industry, I strongly encourage you to consider establishing a methodology that you can work from and develop and refine over time, that you can create courses from, and ultimately certification and licensing programs. And the planning and the groundwork for that starts now. So $10. The link below, certifications made simple, so we can go into some of these topics more in depth, and it will help you think about what is the most important stuff that you're putting out in the world in terms of names and content. What practical and paid and formal legal steps can you take to protect it? Because when you put all of that together, it feels a lot like direct protection of your method that you can't otherwise get. If you got something out of this video, be sure to like and subscribe so that the rest of the world can know, and you'll get notified when our next video comes up. We're going to talk all about what type of content you can actually protect as well as how to do it. So I'll see you there.